this module, I'm going to talk about the 3 things you need to really focus on to make sales on Amazon. Number 1 are your keywords. Number 2 is your conversion rate. Number 3 is your sales velocity. Those are the 3 major things that are going to determine whether you make sales on Amazon or not. As we've talked about in previous modules, keywords are critical to be discovered within the Amazon platform. So you know that it's if you don't have the right keywords, people don't have a clue on how to find you. And when you're choosing keywords, you got to make sure it's not just keywords, it's actually what people are thinking about. You know, if you're selling a vitamin C serum, it might be the keyword could be vitamin C serum, but also anti-aging cream could be another one. So you got to get into the mind of the customer and actually focus on the right keywords and the right search terms for what they're searching for. Your conversion rate also is critical for getting sales on Amazon. If you have a low conversion rate, Amazon, the A9 algorithm is going to penalize you. You have to convert. I mean, like I said before, if you're below about a 7% unit session percentage, you need to try to get that up. You need to try to improve your images, try to improve your price, try to improve your copy. See if there's some other search terms that may resonate more with your customers, but you need to get that up. A good goal would be to get between 12 and 20%. Remember, on Amazon, the conversion rates are way higher than they are on other platforms because people come to Amazon to shop. And so your conversion rate is going to play a major factor. Also, the third one that's really critical is your velocity. You've got to get your sales up, and you got to maintain a good velocity of consistent sales. If you're going up and down all the time, it's going to affect you. So you want to get onto page 1, and ideally in those top 1, 2, 3, or 4 listings. It's called above the fold. It's kind of like if you had a piece of paper and you fold it in half. The ones that are on the top of everybody's on the first page, but everybody on the top of the first page is above the fold. And that's really where you want to try to be, if at all possible. Now, sometimes you can be below the fold and be in position 8 or 10 and still do well. Depends on the keyword. If it's a keyword that a lot of people shop on, like it's Mother's Day gifts, people are going to shop and they're going to scroll down. But if it's more of a commodity item, they're going to look at one of the top ones and probably go with it. So you want to try to get in that position, and you want to maintain your velocity. Now, there's some other things you got to keep in mind. Well, what the customer thinks. You know, there's been surveys done on what the customer actually thinks are important factors for why do they buy on Amazon. And about 23% of them, number one reason is they say is the price. But that doesn't always mean the lowest price. It means the price needs to be has to justify what they're getting. So if you can add value or show them or justify why you can sell something at a higher price, and you'll see this when we get into the image section, how I show you how I justify a price that's like 2 times everybody else, that's okay. But the price has to align with the value that they're receiving. But that's the number one thing that people look at. It's about 23% or so as far as the criteria of what determines whether they choose your item or not. Number 2 is something that you really don't control. If it's prime shipping. I mean, the way you control that is you're using FBA. So you have that advantage right away. Prime shipping and FBA over FBM will always win. If someone's shipping it from their own warehouse or their house, it's always going to be at a disadvantage to someone that actually it's available for prime next day or 2-day shipping. And that's a major factor. So that's kind of cooked in for most of us. The third most important one are the quality of your reviews. Not how many reviews you have, but about 12% of the people say that the most important thing they look at are the quality of the reviews. So hopefully you're able to get some reviews and have some decent reviews. Remember I said those short reviews can actually hurt you. So hopefully you can do that. The next reason that people say is the number of reviews. So about 7% of the people actually look and decide that the number of reviews actually plays a factor in whether they buy it or not. So you know, you don't always have to have the most reviews, but you got to be competitive. Reviews are kind of a currency on Amazon. So you have to be competitive. And it's not until you get to about the 5th most important reason that we even get to brand. That's why I said in the earlier modules that don't worry about a brand in the beginning, about building a true brand. I mean, you do need a brand name, you need brand registry, all that, but a true brand, don't worry about spending time and money on that until you get going on Amazon, because it's only about 6% of the people really actually will decide whether they're going to buy something or not based on what brand it is on Amazon. And so those are critical things to keep in mind. And remember, you don't have to be on page 1 for search terms. I mean, if you're for the biggest search terms, you can be on page 2 or 3 for some of the big search terms. As long as you're on page 1 for the long tails, the keywords that are converting, that are resonating with your audience, that's totally fine. Being in that middle of the pack is totally fine on Amazon. Now, about 75% of the sales on Amazon occur between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. About from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. is when about 75% of the sales occur at that specific time. So that's like California time in the United States. And so that's a thing to keep in mind. Most of your sales are going to come in during that time frame. So if you're running PPC, some of the tools will actually let you do day parting and stuff, and actually let you actually focus more on that time, and maybe down your bids, or maybe even increase your bids when people run out of stock. And there's all kinds of things you can do. But just remember, between about 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. is when most of the Pacific time is when most sales occur on Amazon. The top 3 listings typically get about half of the clicks. Doesn't mean they get half the sales, but the ones that are in spots 1, 2, and 3 typically get about half of the clicks. And you can, if you have brand analytics, if you're brand registered, you can see some of this kind of data, and you can correlate that, and it can be good. That's a little bit more of an advanced topic, but you can see Amazon provides some of that type of data. Only about maybe 30% of the searchers on Amazon go beyond page 1. So basically, the best place to hide a dead body on Amazon would be on page 2. Unless it's a giftable item or something people really got to compare, most people don't go beyond the first page. So if you're not on page 1 for the keywords that are relevant for you, it's really, really going to hurt you. And you have to differentiate. If you don't differentiate, it's very difficult to have long-term success on Amazon. You've got to truly differentiate. And differentiating isn't just a different color or a different size. Differentiating is truly making something that's unique or bundled or packaged in a way. You remember I talked about my dog bowl in the past. That was truly differentiated. That doesn't mean you got to create a brand new product from scratch, but you really got to focus on that differentiation. Why is your product going to be different than everybody else, and how hard is it to copy? Now, price, like I said earlier, is critical, but you don't have to be the lowest price. I can show you case study after case study that if you're differentiated. Now, if there's no differentiation, if you're just another spatula and all you've done is change the logo, and the differentiation is something simple like you just put yours in a box and everybody else is in a sleeve, that's not enough differentiation. You got if there's enough differentiation, you can justify a higher price on Amazon. You can actually make more money. Review, like I said, reviews are really important. They're like the currency of Amazon. But the thing that you always got to focus on, whether is going for profit, not for sales. That's why I say don't worry so much about BSR all the time, or don't worry about being the top seller. You always want to go for profit. Sometimes you can make a lot more money if you're the selling 10 per day at $30 versus selling 30 per day at $15. So it's not always about price. And I know a lot of people teach that you got to have the lowest price, you got to be competitive. And in some categories, you absolutely do, especially commodity stuff. But in a lot of categories, you can actually compete very well by having good images and a fair price and differentiation, and then just making sure you're doing all the other things to be discovered. Now, what does matter? There's like 7 probably core things that are going to really help you drive some sales on Amazon that you need to focus on. We're going to talk about these in more detail in some of the upcoming modules. Your main image is critical. People, your title will get them there. Your price might interest them. But if your main image doesn't stand out, then you're going to have a problem. Your main image has really got to stand out and get them to actually click in and see what else is there. Your price is probably the second most important thing, because if the main image can justify the price, people will click. So your images 2 through 7 are probably the third most important thing. You know, you get like 9 images on most categories on Amazon, but those images number 8 and 9, you usually have to click a button to actually see them. It's like it'll say 7+, and you click that and you enlarge them, and you can see number 8 and 9. They're good to have, but the first 7 are what people see without clicking, and on mobile they see those prominently. Those are critical. And if you can put a video in that 7th spot, if you're brand registered and have the ability to put a video there, that's even better. The number 4 thing are your reviews. These are the reviews that are on page 1. They're the ones that kind of show up at the top. A lot of people won't go deep. They won't go diving down into 20 pages of reviews. They might look at the first page and make a decision. Some people might sort, show me the positive ones first or the negative ones first, but most people will just look at what's on that first page. So usually those are either ones that have been voted up by customers, or oftentimes they're your initial reviews. They're the ones that have been there the longest, and they're the longest. And so that's why it's very important when you first launch to try to get some really good quality reviews at the beginning, because they're more likely to stick towards the top. The next most important thing are the snippets of your reviews. Sometimes the little snippets, they'll show little parts of the review, but they won't show the whole thing. Over on the right hand side, there's like the most recent 7 or something like that. Those can play a factor too in how well your sales go. The next most important thing probably is your star rating. Some people might look at that initially when they're looking at the whole list of images, a whole list of results. But your star rating can play a factor. But you can overcome a poor star rating, a 4.0, with some of the earlier things I just mentioned. You can overcome that for a lot of customers. And then the next thing that's really important is whether or not you're running coupons. Now, these could be the promotional coupons that show down the page, but honestly, a lot of people never really even see those. The coupons that are the best ones are the ones that people can clip just by clicking on them. And they're the ones that we'll talk about that in another module on how to set those up. But they're the ones that show up at the top. It might say get $3 discount or 5% off. Now, Amazon charges you 60 cents or so every time someone redeems one of those. Not when they click it. A lot of people will click it and never redeem it. But if they actually redeem it, use it, and buy your product, Amazon will charge you a fee. It's roughly 60 cents. There's some other discounts depending on the program you're in. But those can play a huge factor when people are comparing two products to each other. And they're really underutilized. A lot of people don't use them. Even at Christmas time, sometimes a lot of people raise their prices during the fourth quarter. I will raise my price. If I have an item that's $24.95, I might raise it to $29.95, and then actually put one of those coupons on for $5 off. And so I'm basically selling it at the same price that I was selling it before, but people see it, and they see that they're getting a $5 savings. They're like, wow, this thing is normally $29.95. It must be better than these other guys who are $24.90. My competition's the same price, $24.95, but because I get a $5 discount, in their mind they're thinking, wow, this must be a better product, and I'm getting it for the same price, so I'm gonna go ahead and buy Kevin's product. So coupons can play a major role as well. So those are just some of the things that I want you to keep in mind for actually some keys to getting sales on Amazon. So I look forward to seeing you in the next module. Hopefully this has been of assistance to you.